Hello fellow programmers, welcome to a tutorial that will hopefully show you a unique way to handle parallax effect based on mouse position relative to the screen and not to the camera. An example of this technique used in games would be the loading screen in War Thunder. Or in other games, it is used as the polishing touch for the UI menu. Note that I am using Unity 2019.4, but it should work on older and newer versions too. Here, I start with a blank project, and I will adjust the camera to make it look a bit better. Next, I'll import a free asset that I will use as a nice background. Link will be in the description. Once that's done, I'll make a canvas and tweak some settings in order to make it applicable for different screen sizes. Note that you will get a weird distortion, so I decided to make the UI in reference to the Full HD monitor. Then, by creating an empty object and setting its rect transform mode to stretch, I ensure that the background will always cover the entire screen. After saving the current scene, I'll go in the newly imported asset folder. There, I'll open the demo scene and copy the background, since it has the hills and mountains on different game objects, which will serve later as layers. Back to the main scene, paste it under the parallax effect parent. This will ensure that the screen will always be covered. Remember to tweak the positions and size to be a bit bigger than the screen. You can see the source code in my GitHub repository, which will be linked in the description. Roughly explaining the code, here is how it works. First, make an array of game objects that will represent our layers. Then, two floats for the x and y speed. Then an array of vector freeze, which will store the initial positions, since we will apply the motion as an offset. In the start function, let's set the cursor so that it can't leave the window area, otherwise we will get a weird distortion. Then we will initialize the positions array with the lengths of the layers, and then going through a loop I'll store the initial positions for each layer or game object. I will use the fixed update function, since it's more performant, but depending on your game settings it may cause weird updates. In my case, I left everything to default settings. That means this method will be called 20 times a second, and that's enough. Then using two floats x and y as a general offset value based on mouse position, multiplied by respective speeds and divided by either height or width of the screen, we will achieve a better result across different screen sizes. Then, I'll look for each object in the parallax object array, and based on its position in the array, I will apply a corresponding offset that will be added up to the original position. For this code to work properly, you have to place in the array objects starting from the furthest away going to the nearest. A quick setup and we can see it's working properly. Tweaking the speeds or setting to 0 in order to cancel the movement, and tada! We achieved our goal and it looks amazing. That brings us to the end of the video. If you found this useful, consider liking and post a comment with your feedback. Let me know if you want part 2 with the parallax object binded to the camera.